Welcome back to Embracing New Life, and thank you for joining us for part 2 of our series called Those Who Stand in the Gap. In this 2-part series, we're speaking with Bethany LeMieux, a dedicated therapist at New Life Resources. If you missed last week's episode, I encourage you to go back and listen to part 1, where Bethany shared her journey into counseling and her experience as a highly sensitive person. Today, we're diving deeper into Bethany's work, focusing on a significant area of her practice, helping clients heal from what's known as betrayal trauma. Bethany will shed light on what betrayal trauma is, why it's so impactful, and how she supports others through this challenging experience. You know what time it is. Grab your favorite beverage, find a comfortable spot, and sit back and relax. Or, if you prefer, take us along on a walk or while you get things done. Either way, let's dive into today's episode. On your bio on the website for New Life Resources, you identify a lot of areas of focus that you have, and I'm sure there's more areas that you work with than just those. But, we wanted you to identify one area in particular that you'd like to share with, the audience, and tell us a little bit more about that area.
So when I think about meeting with people, kind of the big picture of what it's like for me to sit with someone, I already mentioned, is just enjoying figuring out in what ways they reflect who God is in his character, being made in his design, or designed to reflect his image. So whatever that might be, whatever characteristics that we get to discover together. So that's a big part of how I work, is honoring the way that they reflect God's image. But then because of the broken world, there's ways in which things are complicated and they can't live it out as well as they would like to. So whether that would be depression or anxiety or relationship issues, like what's getting in the way of them being able to flourish. So our content might revolve around what's getting in the way and figuring out how can we restore that to be able to live out of your design. Yeah. So I would say, big picture, that's what I try to do with everyone. For sure. And so, as far as specifying, what content do people want to talk about, I'm not super rigid in what specifically they want to talk about, because I think the big picture of you matter, things are difficult, and this is how, or there's ways that that things could happen, that this could be restored in the here and now. So that's just kind of a big picture of how I generally work. For sure. But one of the complications or difficulties in this world that really came out in what I've been noticing in the clinic was about the effects of pornography or sex addiction on relationships and families. So that's kind of a mic drop or big turn. You're like, wow, I wasn't expecting Bethany to say that, probably. But that was coming up a lot in our clinic, and it was disrupting families and relationships so much, still is. And so in seeing that in a need in the clinic, I was thinking about how the wives are affected by that if husbands are going through that. Yep. And so about 5 years ago or so, I launched a group for wives of, you could say sex addicts, or, wives of husbands who do, have affairs or betrayals or something about, disruption in their relationship in that regard. Yeah. And I have found the group to just be so meaningful. One thing about the area of sex addiction is there's just still so much shame attached to it. And so the wives or the women would come in, they're like, I don't know who to talk to about this. I'm not sure, should I tell my family? Because if we don't divorce, then they're always going to hold this over my husband's head, or they're not sure who to talk to about this that won't have a lot of ramifications, or if they can forgive, maybe their friends or family won't forgive. And so should I talk to my friends and family about this? So they end up feeling just super lonely about it. So I remember the first meeting of the first group, people walking in and be like, I am not alone. Other people are going through this. Yeah. And that's just really powerful for people to not feel crazy or alone, or what am I supposed to do with all of this? This is really hard. Yeah. So the power of the group of not feeling alone, that's been really fruitful, and even it's bigger than one-on-one. Like they could meet with a counselor and be like, oh, this counselor gets it. The counselor tells me that this is not unusual, or you can expect this, or this is normal. But when a group of people experiencing the same thing as you tell you that, you're like, okay.
Yeah, that deep need we have to know and be known. Groups allow us the experience, not just the thinking about it, but actually living it in the moment of being known or knowing another person and seeing how we're similar, how we're unique, but that we can be known is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Especially for these women in particular who are going through something so vulnerable, like something you would absolutely want to hide, and to say, oh, I'm making this place where I am bringing this to light, and then to be embraced in that is immensely powerful for them.
Sometimes I've heard the term betrayal trauma. And in your observations, how can a betrayal be traumatic?
I'm working off the work of Debbie Silber, so you can look her up. She's great. So just this idea of when a discovery happens about something going on in your life, your world gets turned upside down. You're like, what is real? Who can I trust? Your whole world makes no more sense. Or sometimes they find out, oh wow, my intuition, that thing I was trying to like squash and say, oh no, nothing wrong here. They're like, oh no, my intuition was right, and there was something going on here. And now how do I trust my gut? Like they get confused about what are they supposed to make of the data that's happening in them? Of like, is this just me being hypersensitive to the fact that I've been hurt so bad? Or is this data that I really need to consider because this is off or odd? And so there's a ton of confusion, internal confusion with betrayal, a sense of what is real, who do I trust? And it immensely affects your body. You know, trouble eating, sleeping, working, concentration, in all these ways. Yeah, your body is traumatically affected by.
So the break of trust with the other is accompanied by, can I even trust myself?
Yes. Yes, that's a big feature that the women talk about. And some of the work of Debbie Silber, which I found really helpful, she's like, we need to go back to the absolute basics. Like, does the sun rise in the morning? Yes, I can trust that. And I've just appreciated her perspective on that, because people need to get back to some sort of foundation of what is real and what can I expect and what can I trust. And sometimes you have to go back to those super basic elements to regain that.
What are some hurdles that, people have to jump over, moving from, okay, I feel like, talking to somebody about this, or even a group, would be good for me, to actually participating in that? What are the hurdles that people usually have to overcome in order to finally get to the place where they're actively talking about this with someone or with a group?
I would imagine there's some denial factor of like, let's just smooth this over and pretend like nothing's wrong. Yeah. And so having to come to the grips of, no, this is really what's happening in my life, and I can't just put a Band-Aid over this. And the desire to just want to smooth over it as quickly as possible. Yeah. To be like, no, like entering the pain would actually help it resolve in a more, effective way. And that's a hard spot, is to choose to enter into the pain of like making yourself really aware of what is really going on instead of denial, head in the sand. So I would imagine that's one hurdle. Another hurdle that I've heard for women is like, well, how, if I want to support my husband, I don't want to like bring shame to him. And so as they are exploring it themselves, they're like, well, how does this affect him? And so how to orient them into, you matter too, and this is affecting you too, and having a safe place for you to explore this is necessary for your coupleship to heal. And it's not just his process to heal, that, your whole relationship dynamic needs to heal, not just him and his behavior.
Yeah.
So entering the pain doesn't sound very attractive.
No.
Not at all.
I don't like pain at all. What's the advantage? Why would we facilitate someone going through the pain?
I imagine it's more real. Like, it's really what's happening. And it's horrible, but it's honest. And so it kind of brings you back to the vulnerability of what is, and not this, alternate reality, which you wish were true, but isn't.
Yeah.
And so being known when there is pain, that's part of being known.
Right.
Being real. What's on the other side of the pain? 'Cause sometimes people will wonder, is there anything?
I'm so glad that you brought it to the arc of hope. But so I've been running this group for about 5 years, and we've had some members who have been with us the whole time. And everybody's still in a different part of their journey.
For sure.
And there's a lot of relationship factors that, how each partner is doing the work is going to affect how each partner resolves the work. And so there's a ton of dynamics going on. But there are absolutely stories of women who say, I have reason to trust. I am tentative, but I'm going to try it. Finding out that their husband is being trustworthy, and then they have resolve of, okay, I can be more vulnerable here. I can release some of the anger. I can have some context about how he got here and have compassion, and not just anger of what he's done to me. So I would say forgiveness is absolutely possible. Compassion is absolutely possible. Debbie Silver talks about this too, where what you create afterwards will be different, but it could be even more beautiful.
Yes.
And based on more reality, because often the sex addiction is a coping mechanism for something that somebody else is doing to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And as they resolve that, they can be more real.
Yeah.
And they can have a more realist, or like a more impactful relationship with their spouse as they're doing their healing too.
Yeah.
So what can be built after betrayal trauma could be even more wonderful than what was originally there, because
true.
so many more things have been exposed so that you can be more truly known.
Yes. So I would imagine a lot of the work also is around boundaries.
Yes.
Yes. And how do you define boundaries? What is your thoughts on that very broad topic?
Yeah, so boundaries would be, or for boundaries of responsibility, what I'm responsible for, what I'm not, what I control, what I don't. So for the women in the group, they don't control their husband, but they can decide what they do based on what their husband does. And they can, decide what they're responsible for and what they're not. And that's tricky sometimes, especially in an addiction cycle, because you want to fix, like, you want the other person to be better, and you're like, what can I do? What is support, but not trying to fix it for them? And that's a tough one to untangle as well. So, bringing it back to, okay, but what will you do? What's your action going to be dependent on what they're doing, because that's all you're really capable of doing is responding. So, we do talk about what they're responsible for, what they're not, and how to let go of letting the other person have their process, but taking care of yourself while they do.
Yeah.
And I found sorting that out in groups can be really helpful.
They are bringing it out in each other.
Yeah,
and so,
right.
it's really helpful
It is.
for them to, as they're growing in the concepts, as they're talking to the other person about it, they can see it in a new way.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, if I can implement this, if I can see it in their story, I can have more eyes to see it in my story too.
Right.
Challenging as well, right? Like, oh, I don't know if that's the best boundary for you, or even really a true boundary, so.
And encouraging.
Yeah, exactly.
When one group member experiences success, something going well, all the group members benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're because we have women in different parts of their story, and we've seen different arcs, and people have gotten to different places. We have seen a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And so we've seen how people have been, restored, and how relationships have evolved, and that gives them something tangible to hold to. Like, okay, I saw that in them, and I don't know what my story is, but this could be a possible result. So there, that helplessness, hopelessness is challenged when you see face to face a story that's evolving.
Yeah, beautiful picture.
Yeah, it's really rewarding.
Yeah.
How often does your group meet?
That's a tricky question because, right now we are, we have some members who have been with us for a long time, and then some members for different reasons of life have stepped in and out. And so actually right now would be a great time if somebody's hearing this and they think, okay, this is my story, and maybe this is something I would think about entering in, and a group process could be helpful for me. We're looking to add more members so that we can meet as regularly as possible. At this point, sometimes, if because of life people can't make it, we end up canceling group.
Yeah.
And so right now we're meeting the first Wednesday of the month, once a month. But if we have more members, and if we have people who do want to be meeting more regularly, we would meet every other Wednesday. So that's an interesting answer to a simple question. Right now we're looking to have more stability to be able to meet twice a month would be our optimal.
Yeah.
And it also highlights how groups are relational and responding to the needs of the group members.
Yeah, and all that to say, if there are people that are interested, there's room for them in your group.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Good.
And I'll just do one more plug. The women in the group are just so they just allow for everybody to be in their place, and they're not insisting that anybody do it their way, or that where they're at is where everybody should be, and they're really open to feedback. The group that we have is really wonderful, and so I think any woman who would be considering it would be blessed by it.
That's awesome. Yeah, very cool. Well, we appreciate you being with us on this episode of Embracing New Life, and we look forward to future episodes where you'll join us as well. But we thank you for your time and look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our series called Those Who Stand in the Gap. We hope today's conversation with Bethany LeMieux shed light on the complexities of betrayal trauma and the compassionate support available for those navigating it. Bethany's dedication to walking alongside others on their healing journey truly embodies the mission of New Life Resources. If you or someone you know could benefit from counseling, or if you'd like to learn more about the work we do here at New Life Resources, we'd love to connect with you. Reach out to us through our website or give us a call, and let's see how we can support you on your path to healing and growth. Until next time, remember that hope and new beginnings are always within reach. Take care, and we'll see you in our next episode. Embracing New Life is a production of New Life Resources, a Christian counseling clinic in southeast Wisconsin, whose aim and goal since 1976 has been to provide high-quality professional counseling, psychological, and consulting services from within a Christian framework.